Welcome to Virtual Curriculum Night. My name is Ken MacDonough, and I will be your student's art teacher for the year. I'm one of two art teachers here at Quincy Junior High School, and I'd like to just start by saying I consider it an honor to be entrusted with the responsibility of fostering your students' creativity in art class. Before we really dive in, though, I'd like to just share a little bit about myself, my teaching philosophy and experience, and what your students can expect from me this year. I attended college at Olivet Nazarene University and graduated in the fall of 2012 with a Bachelor of Science in Art Education. My wife, Courtney, and I are both avid distance runners. I currently serve as both the head cross-country and assistant track coach at Quincy Junior High School. My teaching philosophy is centered around the idea that every child is unique. I've made it my goal to provide students with projects that accommodate all types of learners while constructing an environment that promotes creativity and self-expression. In my class, students can expect to be hands-on with a wide variety of materials and mediums, and in doing so, they'll be challenged in new and unique ways. One of the things I find most rewarding about the teaching profession is seeing a student take pride in their work and achieve a sense of accomplishment. And so to kind of really dive into curriculum, our sixth graders, that is the focus, exploring mediums, just getting their hands on a lot of different things. And I'm really excited about the amount we're going to be able to do that this year. For example, right now, our students are working on a paper mache project where every day they're really excited to come in and kind of get messy and just learn how materials interact with one another. Before the calendar year is up, we will use translucent paper and Sharpie to create these really cool light reflecting ornaments kind of near the winter holiday season. So I'm also really excited about that. So the theme for sixth grade is just kind of these off-kilter mediums that they'll get to kind of play around with. And that's right in line with what ISB expects for this grade level, so that they are really kind of broadening their view of what can be used to create art. To the second point there on this slide about sixth grade, perfecting detail through fine motor practice, I think is one of the single most important thing a sixth grader can develop this year, whether it's through painting or using colored pencil or pastel, but being able to utilize the material in a way that showcases precision and patience will drastically increase the quality of their artwork. And it's really a skill they can take with them, not just in 7th and 8th grade, but all the way to high school as well. Our 7th grade focus is understanding how artists' ability to apply value to drawings and paintings affects realism. And there's two staple projects we do that go right along with this that ask students to utilize manipulating pressure with their pencil to show light and dark values and create a subtle change between the two. And really honing in on that skill, I think, is a great way to make sure they're ready to take the next step towards realism in their artwork as they get ready for 8th grade. Understanding how artists apply color through the context of art history is kind of the other big focus. And we help students learn how artists did that through a video series as well as a technology-based project that looks at neo-impressionism and the pointillism movement and how those artists understood how colors interacted and how our eye perceived color from a distance versus up close. And then also through the way artists used contrast within pop art. And the way artists used color to create focal points and to draw our eye into certain areas. So just kind of exploring color and value, two of the big art elements, is the primary curriculum that our 7th grade is based around. And then 8th grade, the ability to describe the characteristics that make up strong compositional artworks. I tell my students this at the beginning of the year, but I worked as an art teacher at the high school for 4 years, and I really am planning on using that experience to bridge our 8th grade curriculum to what I know they'll see at QHS when they move forward with their art career. And so that's been a great great experience for me because I can safely say, okay, you will definitely see this in the future, so we have to make sure that we're learning it here and doing a great job getting them ready. At the start of the year, we talk about art descriptors and how those play into how we perceive an artwork. So again, to kind of piggyback on what I said about our sixth grade curriculum, all of this stuff is what ISB is expecting eighth graders to focus on as well. Kind of taking a broader perspective towards the art they're viewing and still getting their hands on really cool materials, but also looking at that artwork critically, understanding how the artwork they're creating relates to these categories and descriptors, and being able to judge a work of art based on how the elements and principles work together to create a strong composition versus a lack of good composition and all those things. So that about sums up eighth grade. Some COVID updates that we've made in the art room for this year are individual desks were installed as opposed to tables, which we've always had in here, which have been great. It presents a little bit of a challenge materials-wise, making sure every student has access to their own things that they'll need for the day, as opposed to being able to lay a bunch of things out on a table and have students share. But so far, we've been able to work with that and make that happen so that we are staying safe at all times. All materials, after they are used, get returned to a bin where they are then cleaned and sanitized by me. I call this little job doing the dishes at the end of the day. So I just sit there with my sanitizing wipes, go through and make sure everything is cleaned off before any students get hands on anything the next day for use. All projects and materials are stored in individually assigned spaces. So one of the really cool things about my art room in 142 is that it used to serve as the wood shop. Because of that, they've left all these nooks and crannies of storage for me to utilize now that I have to make sure that students' work is kept separate and that the contact is not being infiltrated by many sources. So that's been great. I've been able to store students' projects individually. The only access is from me and them, and they know where their stuff's at, and that's it. So that's been really handy. And then the last one, on day one, students were briefed on synergizing safely. I use that word synergize because it's one of our 7 habits, and I usually drive the point home that in this classroom we are a team and we need to work together. But that looks a little bit different this year since we can't necessarily help each other out because we have to maintain safety protocols at all times. So those are just a few ways that we're implementing COVID safety standards in the art room this year. And a great segue to the next slide is that if you have questions about that, you can feel free to ask me anytime via the following contact points. My email is on the screen and my phone number is there. That's the school's number with extension 1142, obviously for 142, the old wood shop. And another great access point for seeing what's going on in the art room on a weekly basis would be to Google search QJHS homework. And I update my homework website pretty regularly, and you'll be able to see like whatever our weekly agenda is, for example, on there. So if your student were to ever miss school or anything like that, they could see what it was, and of course, using any of these contact points, communicate with me if there was any concern over anything. I know the key to a successful year is collaboration, cooperation, and open communication between home and school. So again, if you have questions, would like to schedule an in-person conference, volunteer to help, or anything like that, just please contact me via any of these points, and I'm sure we can make that happen. Thank you for listening to my presentation. I hope you were able to learn a little bit about the art room in 2020.